Are you? Ooh. Got it.
Oh boy.
Well,
I'll get into it in a sec.
okie dokie.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to episode 131 of the Salvaggio and Cratty Sports Podcast. Here for you again on another Wednesday night, 7:17 p.m. We just had a trade drop in the NHL, which we'll get to in a little while once we get to hockey after some quick moments of the week. And we might have another big trade dropping with one of the teams involving one of the biggest players on the market, but just speculation for now. But exciting start. But before we get into everything, as I always do, Ryan, how are we feeling tonight?
I'm doing well. I was going to ask you because, like you said, you seem pretty excited right before you hit the button to go live here. So I was going to ask what you were seeing, if it was anything pertaining to the Bruins, or you kind of gave a little bit of a hint of a potential big name. But I don't know what's going on there. I don't know if you want to jump right into that, or we'll do moments of the week and then kind of do whatever this potential trade is. It's going to drop during the hockey segment.
Yeah, we can do moments of the week first. Mine's really quick. For anybody who didn't see, the Titans released like everyone today. For their better players, Taylor Lewan, Robert Woods, Randy Bullock, and Zach Cunningham were all released, freeing up about $38 million in cap space and $42.22 million in cash. Pretty nuts. Gotta wonder if a few of these guys could be future Patriots, maybe too. Maybe Lewan on the O-line, Robert Woods, or Zach Cunningham, who we all know Belichick likes at the linebacker position. I'd take any one of them personally.
That was going to be my question. I had a buddy of mine ask me the same thing. If I take particularly Robert Woods, and I couldn't remember exactly off the top of my head what kind of year he had. I have to assume it was a down year with no quarterback. So I don't know how willing I'd be able to bring him in. Lewan, I'd absolutely do, for obvious reasons, just because the offensive line is such a sieve. He was really, to me, not the surprising one, because I feel like he came out a couple weeks ago, didn't he, and was like, I'm going to get released, so expect that to happen. So the Woods one was a little surprising. Bullock, Cunningham, same thing, but
Robert Woods is pumped.
I saw that on Twitter. He tweeted out free or whatever it was. So I guess good for him that he gets a chance now to figure out where he wants to go. But yeah, surprising. But as we know, the Titans, as we'll get into with NFL free agency and stuff a little later on down the line, week wise, the Titans, I think they were pretty strapped for cash anyway. So these moves make some sense, but definitely some things to figure out with them moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely a retool going on right here. Yours is about Joe Mazzulla and the Celtics.
Yeah, this broke, I think, the Friday before the All-Star break, or kind of as teams are transitioning to the All-Star break. We finally have some clarity on the next head coach of the Boston Celtics. Of course, Joe Mazzulla was coaching with the interim tag since the start of the season. That led not a ton, but there was still a little bit of rumblings of Ime Udoka's name. Why is Mazzulla still the interim? Does that give Ime a chance to come back? Obviously, we heard or saw that the Nets were interested in him, but they ended up signing their interim head coach long-term. So Celtics do the same thing with Joe Mazzulla. I'm happy for it. I'm glad they did it. Did it take a little long? Yeah, but I think Brad Stevens, he had a good answer for that. When he was asked about it, he said on the decision, as far as the timing, I want to give them the opportunity to finish the season strong and not be in a cloud of uncertainty. Like I said, I would have liked it a little sooner just because of how great a season Joe Mazzulla has had. You and I think, both picked him to be the coach of the year when we did our NBA preseason predictions. So far, he's lived up to that, with the Celtics having the best record in basketball. But I'm glad they got this cleared up. God forbid the Celtics did struggle down the stretch, or maybe they went into the playoffs and some things didn't go their way. And maybe there was some thought of the players thinking, if we don't play well, maybe Joe's not going to get the head coach tenure. Maybe Mazzulla would have thought himself that he might be coaching on the hot seat a little bit. I'm glad this is all cleared up now, and they made the right decision, obviously, with the success he's had and just the abundance of praise the players have had for him throughout the season.
Yeah, I mean, it was just a matter of time unless things went catastrophically wrong. Glad they, can put this matter aside and, leave any speculation to the side as well. And, Joe Mazzulla is the guy. So Works for me.
Works
I
for
don't
me
really have any
too.
complaints.
No, I mean, we've seen here and there some rookie mistakes, but those are getting, I feel like, fine-tuned out. Obviously, the guy has an all-star game under his belt now, so got to celebrate that a little bit. And then, of course, like I said, the naming the head coach capped off, which was a pretty good weekend for him. And then for the Celtics, not as a whole, but two Celtics stars, as we'll get to a little later, probably to end the show tonight. We'll finish with Celtics. But Bruins, of course, to start, and then Red Sox mixed in as well.
Yep. Absolutely. We do have some Celtic stuff, like Brian said as well, with the All-Star break and all that jazz. But we're on to hockey first tonight. We're going to start with the trade rumors instead of the Bruins stuff. We've had a couple trades go down today. We had Dyson Mayo go from Arizona to Vegas for Shea Weber's contract and a 2023 fifth. This just frees up cap space on the long-term IR for Vegas. Weber had a $7.857 million cap hit through 25-26, but his actual salary is $1 million per year starting next season. So it's a low cash transaction for Arizona, but Vegas can now look at acquiring not just now, but beyond this season. So huge for Vegas. That was Pierre LeBrun. I wonder if this is just to help with getting Robert Lehner off a long-term IR next year when he's back, or maybe make a run at Timo Meier. They've been in the weeds on Meier, so maybe something like that is in the works, maybe a lower scale move. Just to add some scoring depth with Mark Stone now in long-term IR. And the Chicago Blackhawks, just about 20 minutes ago, acquired Nikita Zaitsev along with the 2023 second and the 2026 fourth from the Ottawa Senators in exchange for future considerations to take on that contract. And it looks like the Blackhawks might not be done. My thought process when first seeing this was going to be Kane, but Chief from Barstool saying he thinks another Blackhawks trade could get done tonight. It involves a playoff team, does not involve Kane. Bigger than the Ottawa deal, nothing confirmed. I thought it was going to involve Patrick Kane and another Barstool guy who claims he's not an insider, but was breaking the details of the Vladimir Tarasenko trade when it happened before a lot of people. Was first on at Avery Zaretsky, tweeted a gif of Kane like he did for Tarasenko and Mikkola last time. So me thinks the Rangers might have something in the works on Patrick Kane. We'll see, though. Knowing our luck, it'll drop at like 9:30 tonight.
Yeah, probably 10 minutes after we get off, if that.
Yeah. If I had to guess, maybe we'll see a trade involving Sam Lafferty or Jake McCabe drop. Maybe Connor Murphy. Just a few players to throw out there for Chicago. But looks like Chicago might not be done. I don't think these are guys that blow smoke or anything. Guys who, will claim to not be insiders, but have shown they have some intel in the past. So I think it's worth mentioning. But yeah, I mean, things are starting to heat up a little bit. We've had some trades over the past couple of weeks, but yeah, the Senators have been trying to get rid of Zaitsev for a while, so it makes a lot of sense. Other trade rumors, starting with the most recent big trade, about probably 3 or 4 days ago now, which was Ryan O'Reilly and Noel Acciari to the Toronto Maple Leafs, which isn't great, mainly for Acciari.
I was gonna say, kind of a kick in the balls.
Obviously the better player, but Acciari ends up with the team he was negotiating signing with apparently this offseason. And the Leafs, he ends up there. I wanted him back with the Bruins, but that's okay. Shit happens. But they get O'Reilly and Acciari in that big deal. They get O'Reilly at under $2 million, which is pretty absurd. And look, the Leafs didn't give up a lot in this deal. They really didn't. They have Adam Gaudette, who's a fringe NHLer, Mikhail Abramov, who maybe cracks an NHL roster someday, but is not like a game-breaking prospect, decent prospect. They trade their 2023 first, which is big, 2023 third from Ottawa that they had, and a 2024 second. They also just got Josh Pilar, who's a fourth-round pick from 2 years ago from Minnesota for free, not really sure why. And Minnesota acquired a fourth-round pick for that, for their troubles, for retaining a little bit on O'Reilly. Yeah, I think the Leafs made out like bandits here. Not really sure why the Blues couldn't have gotten more, but I mean, there's a lot going on with money and stuff here, so I guess it makes sense. Pretty crazy trade, though. What did you think about this one?
Same as you. From what you told me and from what I saw, just kind of the same thing on social media. Obviously, not knowing a ton about what was going back for the players that Toronto got. It seemed like it was not as hefty as of a price as it maybe should have been. I had this. We've talked about this plenty of times with Toronto. I'm going to sound like a broken record, but I had the same conversation with my grandfather the other day where he's like, "Oh, maybe this is the year Toronto. They seem to be loading up. They're making some good moves." And I'm like, it's the same thing. I told him, I go, Mike and I talk about this all the time. I say they're like the Yankees of hockey. You can make all the moves you want, but get over the hump and prove it in the playoffs and prove you can win, and then maybe I'll be impressed or be worried by you. I mean, Ryan O'Reilly, he obviously gave the Bruins trouble in that Stanley Cup run a couple of years ago. He's a great player. We know what Achari brings to the table, but again, like it's Toronto. You can load up. When you get over the hump, then maybe I'll bat an eyelash or something like that at you. But good move for that. For what they got. But again, kind of wait and see mode with the Maple Leafs as always.
Yeah, it's not a guaranteed move that pushes them over the hump.
No.
They're most likely facing Tampa at this rate. So good luck to them in their, adventure there.
Yeah, let those two teams beat themselves up or beat each other up and then limp through the playoffs. That'll work.
Cool with me. While the Bruins wait for a wild card battle to settle itself late this season. We have no idea who they're going to play at this rate. The Rangers reacquired Tyler Mott again, this time for Julien Gauthier and a conditional 7th-round pick. Ottawa will get the better of the Rangers in Jets 6th-round picks this year if the Rangers win a round, or else it'll just be a 7th. Decent deal. Another guy I wanted for the Bruins, but it's whatever. Ideally, a guy that can play center if they get anyone in the bottom 6. He can't, but he's just one of the guys I liked for what he brings in terms of how hard he works. Typical nitty gritty bottom 6 guy type of stuff. He goes back to the Rangers. Nice little shrewd pickup for them. And then the biggest one. I mean, it looks like the Bruins and the Blue Jackets unfortunately have a deal in place involving Vladislav Gavrikov, with salary needing to be freed up on the Bruins end. Looks like Craig Smith is in the mix. Carolina has asked about him. Mike Riley was thrown out there as well by Elliot Friedman today. All signs pointing to Massachusetts from Elliot Friedman this morning. He also mentioned in that same article he doesn't think Boston is doing it on Jacob Chychrun. So I don't know if that completely puts the kibosh on things, but I'd say it's about 99% there, because you can never rule it out. I'll give it a little 1%, but at this point, I don't know about you. I'm hoping nobody will help the Bruins and this trade falls flat, because I do not think it's worth it for a guy that is not like a surefire top 4 defenseman on this team, not a surefire upgrade, and almost undoubtedly a rental. And if they traded for him, he wasn't a rental, I would be even more upset. So there's really no win for me here. I just have to accept it unless it falls through the cracks.
Yeah, you and I have talked about this off air before, and you keep bringing it up to me. Then you've said it on the show too, that you think it would take probably a 1st-round pick to get him, or that's what at least that the Black, that's what they're asking for. And I thought about it more today specifically too, and then obviously seeing these rumors. If it's going to take a 1st-round pick and more, obviously like you said, a 3rd, I don't know, maybe a player, maybe not. Wouldn't you rather just kind of take that 1st-round pick and try to go all in on Chychrun? Like if you're going to give up a 1st-round pick, and then kind of the thing too, like you said, you don't know if he's going to be able to crack the top 4. Like say they do trade for Gavrikov, like who's the defenseman that gets knocked out, especially on the left side, that gets knocked out of the starting lineup? Like, is it see a guy that replaces Forbert? Like Clifton go?
I imagine Grzelcyk moves to the right, Gavrikov slots into the top 4 in Grzelcyk's spot, and Clifton sits. Which it just doesn't make sense. It really doesn't.
Clifton's played really well. Like we've talked about, I think before, that Clifton's having or is in the midst of a career year. He's been excellent. Definitely better than we thought he was going to be this season. Taking pretty big steps forward. Like again, Chychrun's the pricier tag here, but I feel like he would be the not smarter move, maybe not the smarter move, but you know what I'm getting at. The easier move to make that would like fit into the lineup better, because obviously, like we talked about before, you're going to have to give up a guy like a Grzelcyk. Carlo's name's been thrown around. I feel like is that a guy you want to move? But again, like you got to give to get. So he'd be the easier guy to fit in right into the lineup. Like Gavrikov, I feel like kind of convolutes things. And again, like you said, if the asking price is a 1st-round pick, I would rather, if you're going to go all in on somebody, go in on the guy that is going to be a surefire thing in Chychrun.
Yeah, I totally get where you're coming from there. It's just not necessary. I just keep coming back to it. And at this point, I'm hoping Sweeney gets frustrated and backs out and goes and gives up a 3rd-round pick for Luke Shen at this rate. Like,
Yeah,
if
I
they're
take
going to
that.
get somebody,
Absolutely.
like, do that. I really hope this falls through the cracks. There's a good chance it might, because in a situation like this, the GM trying to move salary doesn't have much leverage, so it's going to be tough for Don Sweeney.
True. Yep.
But the reports were this past weekend, that there is a deal in place and they're just sorting out financials. Elliot Friedman described it as very weird today, so like it seems like
there is a sticking point. It seems like there is light at the end of your tunnel of not wanting this deal to get done. I was thinking it's like the last couple of trade deadlines, Don Sweeney hasn't steered this team wrong before. Obviously getting Lindholm, obviously getting Hall two years ago, I think it was. Maybe I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Like maybe he'll pull a rabbit out of his hat and not have to give up a ton to get this guy. But I don't know where to kind of be at with this right now. Like I'm with you. If it's going to take this much, I'm not in favor of this deal by any means. I'm 100% on the same boat you are of go out. We've talked about this 2 or 3 shows in a row now. Go out and get a lesser player for a lesser value of going back, whatever you want to call it, and just kind of figure out how you're going to slot guys in that way.
Yeah. And like, I think people forget too, like Zaboral hasn't played a game since like November. You still have him just like waiting in the wings.
Not going to lie, I kind of forgot about him. So
yeah, like you have Zaboral, you have Mike Riley, you have Jack Ashan, you have Anton Strawman, you're fine. I really can't stress enough how much they don't need to make this deal. They don't even really need Luke Shen that bad, but I'd rather do that at this point. He is the latest to sit out for trade-related reasons. He's back in Vancouver. We'll see what happens there. Other than that, they're potentially in on Meyer. I really don't see a scenario where they trade for Timo Meyer. That would be berserk, though. He's one of the guys like Chychrun that might cost 2 first-round picks to get. I think that's like one of the sticking points in Chychrun right now. They're trying to get 2 first-round picks for him. I don't see the Bruins ending up with Meyer, so if you're getting your hopes up out there, I really wouldn't. I just don't see a scenario where they get him. I think Meyer ends up in New Jersey or St. Louis at this rate, which is interesting because St. Louis is all of a sudden in the mix. They're like, we got 3 first-round picks, some cap space. Let's give up 1 or 2 of them to get another scorer to play with guys like Kyrou and Thomas. I like it and I don't like it because like you're rebuilding, but like
I was just going to ask that after
this
trading
is a guy
away
that accelerates your rebuild.
Okay.
So I mean,
Makes
Timo
sense in
Meyer
that
is
sense,
very
I guess.
good. So I get it, but I don't know. It'd be a power move though to see them go this way. Keep in mind too, they might be getting a first-round pick for Barbashev as well. I don't know if they will at this rate, but that'd be pretty interesting if the Blues just pull a little prank here and be like, "Oh yeah, you think we're rebuilding?"
Yep.
Tongue twister. Psych. Not really. But yeah, I think the Bruins are still on Barbashev as well. Same thing for me with him. I really don't want to give up a lot for him unless the price is right. I'm still in the camp. A cheap 4th-line center like Nick Bugstad or Nick Bonino for like a 4th-round pick, and I'm good. But we shall see what happens. That's really the latest on trade rumors. We'll keep you posted if anything drops. It looks like we said earlier, Chicago might have another move in the works, not involving Patrick Kane. We'll see where that ends up going. But on to Bruins-related matters outside of the trade deadline. They're back to their old ways. Nashville on the 16th, 5-0 win. Jeremy Swayman has now stopped all 70 shots he's faced in 2 career starts against the Preds. This was one to forget for Jeremy Lauzon. I don't know if you watched this game, but Jeremy Lauzon had a rough one. Was
not great. Yeah, I mean that not reassured. I'm not gonna say reassures because again, you don't need to go out and make a move or anything like that. But like one of not the greatest of times. I feel like a lot of people thought maybe this was a type of tryout game for him too, or a showcasing game. So not the greatest, like I said, showcase for Lauzon by any means.
Yeah, I mean, he just really had a tough time in this one. But it was to the fortune of the Bruins, got Craig Smith on the board in this one. He overcommitted on the Marchand goal, which gave him the room for that odd man rush. A nice pass from Lindholm to Bergeron on the Bergeron goal. This was just it was a pretty game for the Bruins. I think the Forbert goal deflected off of Bergeron, or Lauzon. So if that's the case, that just adds to it. And Trent Frederick just added one off of a spinorama that I can't believe Nick Foligno is doing at this rate, given what we saw last year. I know it's been almost like a full season now, but I still can't believe Nick Foligno is doing some of the stuff he's doing, because I just thought that was, not going to happen ever.
Mhm.
Like, I expected at this point in the year for him to be the guy being shots for cap space versus Craig Smith. So, yeah, I mean, the year of Nick Foligno, or Uncle Nick, continues. I thought Jakub Lauko was solid in this game. He got, some people think it's a showcase.
I got him. I was going to, when you finished your point, but I'm just going to jump out in front of it now. I completely mixed up him and Lauzon. Forgot Lauzon doesn't play for the Bruins anymore, and got
Oh, shit.
Lauko. Yeah, we both missed it. I'm like, he's not going to correct me on this, that Lauzon does not play for the Bruins. He plays for Nashville. And I was thinking of Lauko. So just to clear that up in case anyone was listening and was like, he has no idea what this guy's talking about. So carry on.
But yeah, I mean, Lauko had some moments. I liked a couple shifts from him in particular. Maybe, he's a guy that is a trade asset. Maybe they're giving him a little showcase to see, what teams think of him. But the Bruins handled this one pretty handily, and this will help the Predators make their decision on whether to be a buyer or seller a little easier.
Mm-hmm.
Next up, they had the Islanders, kind of a team in the similar mindset as the Predators in a way, and the Bruins beat the crap out of them too. 6-2 win. Ullmark makes 26 saves and 28 shots. And Jake DeBrusk scores right away, coming back from injury, because of course he does.
Yep, you could have seen that coming from a mile away. Like I said, that use him as your big, quote unquote, big trade deadline addition. Get him back in the lineup. Obviously, it's paid dividends the last 2 games he's been out there. He looked like he just really hasn't missed any time at all. So great to obviously have DeBrusk back and doing what he's done so well this season.
Amen, dude. I'm right there with you.
Thank you.
3 goals in 2 games for Fredward Benson. He's another guy like Foligno, not quite on the same level I didn't expect this type of season from, but he's buzzing this year. Really doing good in an RFA contract year for himself. So that's something to monitor. And Patrice Bergeron goes baseball mode and scores.
Wicked goal.
Yeah, that was just a classic goal that, Bergeron could score. That's just how he is. And the Bruins just dominate the Islanders and make them look foolish. So that's good. That's what you like to see.
Absolutely.
Then you have Ottawa on President's Day. I was there with a friend of the program, Mike McClellan. Shout out. Ullmark plays back-to-back, well, not nights, but back-to-back games. 30 saves on 31 shots. DeBrusk scores again, 2-game goal streak for him coming out of the injury. Drew scores late in the first to put a little damper on, but Pastrnak wanted to score number 40 and number 41 with a sick play through the legs by McAvoy to create that first assist to Pasta, and then he just makes a spinning stretch pass from his knees to assist number 41 on the season for Pastrnak. Not the flashiest offensive game, but outside of in terms of like high scoring, I bet the over lost. But it was a good solid effort for the Bruins and a fun game. Just taking care of business.
Absolutely. Good to see him open it up a little bit too, because obviously Ottawa was 2-0 against the Bruins this season, one of the weird stats. And the Senators, for some reason, always seem to play the Bruins tough, and the Bruins always seem to struggle with them. But good to see, like I said, that game open up a little bit late and Pastrnak get going again. Not slumping by any means, but the goals had kind of fallen off a little bit of late, I feel like. So good to see him obviously get to 40 and then pot a pretty nasty one from McAvoy.
Yep. 3rd 40-goal season of his career. It was a big win too, because the Senators can give them fits, but I think the Senators won like 8 or 9 of their last 10.
Yeah, they were hot coming in. I remember hearing the broadcast say so.
Yeah, makes the wild card race for that second spot a lot more interesting if Ottawa can keep stacking up some wins here. We could have like a 4 or 5 man race for that second wild card spot. Would be pretty nuts. But up next, it's a road trip. Seattle, Vancouver, Edmonton, and Calgary. Starts with Seattle. You face Jordan Eberle and the Kraken. He leads the team with 45 points, 57 games. You're going to notice a trend here with these teams. They've lost 6 of their last 10. Then you got Vancouver 2 nights later. Elias Pettersson pacing them in scoring this year, having a career year, 72 points in 55 games. They've lost 7 of their last 10. Anthony Beauvillier has more points since the trade than Bo Horvat. Fun fact. The Edmonton Oilers, of course, have Connor McDavid, has 105 points in 58 games. All I ask for them is to please clear up cap space and trade for Gavrikov instead of us. That would be cool. They are 4-1-5 in their last 10. I don't know how you have 5 overtime shootout losses in 10 games, but another team that's lost 6 or 7 in their last 10 games. And then you have Calgary, paced by Toffoli and Lindholm, both with 59 points this season, or 49 points. They have also lost 6 of the last 10. I don't know what's good with the West.
A lot of wounded animals coming into this game, it seems, or this upcoming stretch.
It's very bizarre. The Bruins have them all in the stretch as well. Everyone's mid in this portion, so these are more potential wins for the Bruins, and I like their odds in this upcoming stretch. But for teams like Calgary and Edmonton, trying to hold on to that wild card ground they have, these are important games for them in particular. So we'll see what happens. Any thoughts about the upcoming week for you?
They haven't done it this year. I mean, we really haven't talked about any sort of trap games or anything like that this season, but this seems like a stretch where, you could get 1 or 2 trap games here with these teams struggling, like you said, towards the end of it, Edmonton and Calgary fighting for their playoff lives. It seems like, I mean, I don't have any faith that the Bruins are not, any faith is probably the right way to describe it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think the Bruins are going to fall in any of these games that they're not going to show up for or anything like that. The one thing, I don't know if we're going to touch on it before we jump into something else. I did see you had it as your, at first your moment of the week before the Titans just decided to go nuclear on their team. But that Nashville game was a pretty nice shutout performance for apparently the Bruins' top trade asset, according to some people, and Jeremy Swayman. I don't know if you had any thoughts on where that has even remotely come from or what the deal is there. I don't know why people are all of a sudden discussing the potential of breaking up the Swayman-Olmark combination to go out and get some sort of trade piece. Like what the deal is with that.
Yeah, when you've won 43 games at this point of the season, you got to trade one of your goalies.
Seems like, that's a smart thing to do. Yep.
Yeah. I think Mike Milbury planted the seed for WEI, talking about like how, he doesn't want to trade Swayman, but like he is one of their better assets. This is the same conversation had last year, but it still doesn't make sense. I don't know why this even needs to be brought up. I guess, having 43 wins in the season isn't enough to talk about for people on TV and the radio. And Olmark just makes no sense. I mean, the guy might win the Triple Crown. Like, he's literally
that's
good
a guy
enough.
You definitely want to trade away. Yeah.
Like, come on. I mean, I'm not even gonna waste a ton of breath. I don't think we should, but it's
No, I just like I said, I saw it as your moment of the week.
Anybody, in the same mindset as us is thinking the same thing, just how ridiculous and stupid this is. So
yeah, it was that too. It was a hot week for WEI. I saw because they had that as their Bruins' main talking point going into the weekend, and then I saw that their midday show graded the Celtics season as a C overall so far. So really slow day at the office for WEI. We talked about this before too when we just talked about making moves for a specific player or defenseman, not trading one of your goalies. But we talked about maybe does a trade or doing something at the deadline or not doing something maybe send the wrong message to the locker room or clubhouse or whatever you want to call it. I feel like this is the type of move, if you trade away Swayman, that you absolutely send the wrong message to the clubhouse. Like that, you obviously people will say what they want about the Swayman and the Olmark hugs at the end of the game. You can't break that up. You can't make a move like that. I don't care how well Swayman's playing. I don't care how big of an asset or if teams come calling for him. The answer is absolutely no chance you're moving this guy. I don't know why you wouldn't want to run with 2 phenomenal goalies into the playoffs and then obviously just turn the thing over to Olmark at the end. Why you would break that up, I have no idea. Just throwing shit against the wall and hoping it would stick and maybe catch some traction and get some people like us talking about it, which it did. So congrats on that part. But other than that, very dumb comments and trades that will not be happening.
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense at all. Stupid. Where do we want to go next? On to Red Sox.
We'll jump into the Red Sox because
or Celtics.
The Celtics stuff is mainly just a couple. I don't know how much of the All-Star weekend you caught. Just some reactions to that. I'm going to assume probably not a lot because
nothing.
that's tends to be the case with the All-Star weekend. We'll save that for last because the Red Sox stuff is the more pressing stuff. As once again, John Henry has reared his dumb head to the public and made some really stupid comments that I wanted to discuss. Showed up to Fort Myers but decided to not meet with the media or not talk to the team at all. So that's a great precedence you set as the team owner to start the season, and a season that might have a little bit of turmoil surrounding it. You don't meet with the team at all. You only meet with a couple of media personnel. The Athletics, Jen McCaffrey was one of them. And like I said, John Henry said some pretty eye-opening stuff about this. He was asked about being booed. One thing I saw said Winter Weekend. The other one said the Winter Classic. He was booed at both of them, so I feel like you're just gonna mesh it into to one thing. But the comment that John Henry had, he said there was a false narrative surrounding the club. It really took hold in 2022. There were even false reports of booing at Fenway Park during the Winter Classic. I think those factors and losing Xander to San Diego were the biggest factors. Those are the fans you would believe are the least likely to try and shut us down. But it happened. Did anyone report the standing ovation at the end? So a couple of takeaways I have from that, and I'll get yours in a second. The first one, the false narrative that took place in 2022. We've seen that come out a little bit recently. I feel like Kike Hernandez has been a big proprietor of that. Some guys, their frustrations last year, or some guys, I remember the comment was like, got complacent with finishing in last place last season. I don't get that. What exactly is the false narrative that took place in 2022? Like I said, that's the only one I find is everyone trying to push that, guys got upset with, how things were being handled last season. Like the team was in last place. The GM showed no direction whatsoever. I don't have a problem if players are questioning, what's going on there, or what the deal is there. The other one, the one that I'm sure you found funny as well. Did anyone report on the standing ovation at the end? I don't know if John Henry, being at the Winter Classic, maybe got the standing ovation that like Bruins players got when they were announced onto the ice. Maybe he thought that was a standing ovation for him for some reason, because I can't imagine anyone in their right mind would give John Henry any sort of standing ovation or anything like that. So I found that incredibly funny.
You know what standing ovation he would have got? It's like the Rick and Morty episode where they go to that planet and, clapping for someone is flipping them off.
Yeah. It's yeah.
That's essentially what it is.
Yeah.
This is just John Henry being out of touch and dumb as usual.
It's the opposite.
Is rarely talks.
Yeah, exactly. The episode you're thinking of, it's the opposite. It's the flipping people off is the one that means
flipping
like
people off is world peace.
Yeah, world peace.
Yeah.
Yep, that's the one.
Yep.
The other comment in this too, just to finish up the answer he had for the McCaffrey question, he said, these fans support the club with so much passion. We were able to afford a $200 million plus payroll. They bring the magic to Fenway Park. Before coming to Boston, I used to think the park was the magic, or that it resided in the history of Fenway Park. But after just a few nights in 2002, it was obvious to me that it was the fans who made Fenway evenings magical. They filled up the park with an unmatched passion. Some early on asked me why I came to Boston to own the Sox. I replied that I wanted to work and live somewhere that every morning I rose what I did would matter. I'm really struggling with this.
Dude, every morning I rose makes him sound like a corpse.
Well, that's what I mean. Like the way he talks, it's just incredibly difficult to read. So, I mean,
he talks like it's like the 1750s.
Mm-hmm. To end it though, we have had a great experience and fans have been great. That's who we work for. Again, some takeaways from that. The making note of the $200+ million payroll, but it seems like his arm needs to be twisted every time we need to go near that payroll. So I found that kind of disingenuous. And then we've talked about this before. I've never seen a baseball owner talk about the quote unquote glory days so much. Like 2002, obviously buying it. Steve Peralt and I think Joey Capone of the ITM podcast, they were talking about this too, I heard the other day, and they took that comment a step further, saying, quote, even though the team payroll is still this is from John Henry, even though team payroll is still among the top 10 in the league, are the Red Sox still in the same tier as organizations like the Yankees, Padres, Dodgers, and Mets? That question was from Jen McCaffrey. John Henry's answer was, if you add the championships together of those four clubs, I'm not sure they would match our total over the last 20 years. So John Henry, I have this in the outline.
Like,
go ahead.
He knows that's not the meaning of the question. He's like, oh, wait, but we have more championships. So I'm going to ignore what the question actually wanted to accomplish and be like, oh, we just have more championships, so it's fine. Like,
oh, that mindset right there, like I was going to say, is John Henry, after saying that, should have quit being the Red Sox owner and jumped over to being the owner of the New York Yankees, and he would have followed right in the footsteps of all their fans of anything that you talk about Maybe the Yankees stink or whatnot, and you get the joke response that we always go to of, oh yeah, well, we got the 27 rings, so suck on that. Like John Henry would be the perfect owner of the New York Yankees, talking about the glory days back in, when we were winning World Series in the 80s and the 90s and stuff like that, instead of focusing on what really matters in the team in 2023 and how bad this team is, and just the absolute dumpster fire that this franchise has kind of become with stuff like this. I mean, again, it just shows that there's no direction for this. It's kind of ridiculous of how things gone. Phil Perry, John Tomasi, and Dan Shaughnessy, they're on NBC Sports Boston's Early Edition Monday night. They also discussed these comments. One of them from John Henry saying that the Red Sox are in much better shape this year than they were in 2021. Of course, that 2021 season, the Red Sox, they only went to the ALCS and lost to the Astros in 6 games. So they were coming off a postseason appearance in that year. This year, obviously coming in, finishing last place last year. Just for a quick little note for what that 2021 team had, 39 of the 56 players who appeared at least in one game for the Red Sox in 2021, they're no longer with the team. Some of those names include, of course, Xander Bogaerts, JD Martinez, Nathan Eovaldi, Christian Vasquez, our fan favorite as a whole, Kyle Schwarber, Hunter Renfroe, Eduardo Rodriguez, Martin Perez, and Matt Barnes, all who have gone elsewhere, maybe with the exclusion of Barnes, because we haven't seen him, what he's done post-Red Sox yet. Same thing with Martinez and Bogaerts, but you can expect they're going to be good. Losses like that, I don't know how you can sit there and say a year where you finished 2 games shy of the World Series, comparing it to this year where there's so many questions and so little answers, how you can sit there and say that the Red Sox right now are in better shape than they were a year off of, almost being in the World Series.
I mean, none of this bullshit even surprises me, dude.
No.
Like,
it's ridiculous. But again, it's John Henry, like old man, just I feel like kind of losing a little bit there, like doesn't really know what's going on. The other thing too that I found shocking coming from the Red Sox this past week was about their chief baseball ops, and this was Sam Kennedy. He didn't help the Red Sox in his image either. This was on Monday. He gave a resounding vote of confidence about Chaim Bloom's job security when asked about it. He said, Chaim is our chief baseball officer, and we do not anticipate any changes there. I don't know if if the Red Sox finish in last place again, if, say they do that again, are we going to sit here and go, yeah, Chaim Bloom's job is still safe? Since getting here in 2020, the Red Sox have made 1 playoff appearance and they finished in last place 2 out of the 3 years he's been here. You're telling me that if that happens again this year, that there doesn't need to be any sort of self-reflection and say like, hey, maybe this isn't the guy for us. I know the farm system, depending on who you look at and who you ask, has made some strides. That's mainly what Chaim was brought in here for. Maybe it's just trying to save face. Sam Kennedy trying to, give himself an out a little bit there. And maybe, try to get some of the blame off of Chaim Bloom. But I don't know how you can sit there and say that you don't anticipate any sort of change, especially if things go down the toilet again this year. Like a lot of people are predicting them to.
Yeah, you don't have to outright say like, yeah, we're going to do something. Like you can say like, yeah, it's possible.
Mm-hmm.
Like
something we might look into. We might have to come back to. Yeah, reconsider. Exactly.
Like to shut it down like this is just totally bullshit. Like it really is. But it's not surprising. So.
No. But yeah, that's kind of what we're dealing with the Red Sox right now. I mean, we're not going to get into too much spring training stuff because the reaction and the fan interest in spring training, if you have watched anything or seen anything on social media, there is not a lot of it. There's not a lot of media coverage down in spring training right now. Not a lot of fans have gone down to watch the workouts. I know spring training games, I think, start out this Friday with the Northeastern game that they usually play. But other than that, like there is not a ton to really talk about player-wise or just, I feel like, get a whole lot of excited for.
Nothing.
But that's nothing new. We've talked about that plenty of times with the Red Sox, of course.
Yep.
But
same old shit.
Yeah, same shit, different day. That's literally what you're dealing with the Boston Red Sox, it seems like right now. And of course, we've talked about it before. It's discouraging because of how far this team has fallen. But according to John Henry, he's still in those glory days and those glory years. We are currently in 2023, and he's still reminiscing about, his days buying the team and, their World Series wins in 2018 and their playoff games in 2021. But
yeah, that's great.
Yeah, that's not the best way to run a baseball team. And now, his soccer team is still failing. He pissed off. I saw a lot of fans on Twitter that they're not going to sell Liverpool, not to go into a whole, soccer spiel or anything like that. But
oh, you sure? I love soccer.
I've got nothing on the outline to talk about soccer, but if you'd like to just pull stuff out of your
No,
you know where, then go for it. But
absolutely not.
yeah, the sky's falling for John Henry, but he just doesn't seem to care. He's got the blinders on and is just kicking his feet up and enjoying life. So
He has too much money to care.
I guess so. He's literally has FU money. Like that is
Yep,
the definition of that.
absolutely is.
Mhm.
On to Celtics, namely the All-Star Weekend and dunk competition. I will defer to you because, outside of Mac McClung doing something crazy, I don't really know what happened.
Yeah, I mean that's really the whole. I just was waiting, obviously, for The Last of Us to start up on Sunday night. Remember that the All-Star, most of the festivities were Saturday, so I guess I'll start there. I'll get into the All-Star game a little later. But yeah, the festivities, it was kind of more the same, like you said, other than Mac McClung pretty much saving the dunk contest, which is maybe what the NBA needs to start doing. Is give, which is crazy to say, give a G Leaguer a chance to prove himself in the dunk contest and see what happens, because he was excellent in that. All of his dunks, obviously, if you missed it, except for one, got 50s. Did a couple of cool dunks. He jumped over a guy, tapped the backboard, and then did a 360 plus. So I think it was like a 520, if that. For his game-winning dunk, that was pretty cool. Some of the other standout moments from the dunk contest, I don't know if you saw this one on social media at least, but Knicks big man Jericho Sims had the cringiest dunk I feel like you'll ever see. He tried to, on this first one, kind of emulate Vince Carter with hanging on the rim with his elbow, but he tried to do it with both. And when he went up, he missed it with his left arm, and he only got his left wrist in, and then tried to go over. So that was kind of dumb to see. And then the second one, just an absolute dork move. He brings out a sealed envelope, sticks it to the basket or the netting of the rim, does the exact same elbow dunk, grabs the envelope, and then when he opened it up, it said that he should get a 50 score, to which like no NBA players on the sideline watching gave any sort of reaction to it. That was pretty much their reaction, was like, dude, are you serious? Karl Malone, same thing. Like, obviously, Karl Malone, absolute scumbag person, but his reaction was funny. I'm just kind of sitting there like, dude, are we serious here? Like, what are we doing here? So Jericho Sims had the two dorkiest dunks of the night. Thankfully, like I said, Matt, and like you said too, from seeing it on social media, Mac McClung had a pretty good night because the NBA needed it. The dunk contest was just pretty much on the verge of death, and he brought it back to the land of the living a little bit.
Yeah, he did, and just really not great by the NBA to be like parading Karl Malone around, given what he has done, which is one of the more heinous things you'll ever.
Yeah, they had him sitting courtside during the game. Obviously the game was in Utah, so they were going to get former Jazz stars. John Stockton, same thing. He was there as well. He's more of a whack job though than just a complete a-hole like Karl Malone is. But maybe not the two best guys you want to parade around. Again, I know they're Utah Jazz related, but I don't know. You maybe could have found some better former Utah Jazz representatives to be at the All-Star game. Some of the other things, 3-point contest was up to par per usual. Damian Lillard, like he does, took it right down to the wire. He beat Buddy Hield and Tyrese Halliburton, a pair of Pacers, in the 3-point contest. He knocked out Jason Tatum in the first round. That was really the one low light that Tatum had of All-Star weekend, as we'll get to in a little bit. And then the other thing I wanted to touch on, because if anybody watched it, it was tough to watch. The skills competition turned out to be the worst event of the weekend. You had Team Utah, which the hosting city usually does. They'll have 3 players from their hometown team. So Jordan Clarkson, Walker Kessler, and Colin Sexton. They took down Team Rooks of Paolo Banchero, Jaden Ivey, and Jabari Smith Jr. And then Team Giannis, which did not have, Team Antetokounmpo, which did not have Giannis. It was Thanasis, Alex, and Drew Holiday, who was how did they word it? He was like a representative, Antetokounmpo, for the night, replacing Giannis, who's dealing with a wrist injury. I said it during the game, watching it. I'm like, if Giannis isn't involved, I don't want to watch any of the Antetokounmpos play. There's a reason why one of them is a glorified cheerleader in Thanasis, and the other one is a G leaguer in Alex. Because for a skills competition, there was not a lot of skill involved. I mean, it was tough to watch. You had one of the sections there was a shooting section where I think the rookies made like 3 shots, if that. So this is just me like on a soapbox pretty much. Like, I feel like the NBA, for the skills competition at least, should go back to what they used to do and have, player go against each other. That led to some great moments, like Tatum hitting a half-court shot when he was in it a couple of years back. You had a big man, I think it might have been Karl Anthony Towns, won it a couple of years ago. So just go back to doing something like that. Like the team skills competition is dumb. It hasn't worked the last couple of seasons. So just kind of change that up. But again, that's just me like old man yelling at the clouds type of thing. Nothing too crazy there.
Yeah, nobody cares about it at all. Like,
no. Well, that's what
scrap it, and not a single person will care.
Mm-hmm. Well, that was the thing too. Like as we kind of get into transition, did you catch any of the All-Star game at all? Like the game itself, or nothing there
Just
either?
Twitter clips.
Okay, so I feel like that's a lot of people share that same mindset because the NBA All-Star game, a lot of people kind of get up in arms about of oh, there's no defense played, or it's a travesty for the game. Like I wouldn't go that far. Like it has some fun moments. You saw Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown dominate. They had the cool matchup at the end of the first half, where they tried to one up each other. Obviously, LeBron had his moments. Giannis had a moment early in the game where he scored and took himself out because he was hurt. It's just for fun. Like I don't understand why so many people were up in arms after. Like, oh, this is terrible for the game. Like they need to get away from the All-Star game. Like nobody plays defense in it. It's been this way for years. Like I don't know why we can't just sit here and enjoy watching these players try to one up each other and just go out there and play pickup basketball. I thought because they changed it this year with the way they drafted the teams. They drafted it like pickup park style beforehand. I thought that was cool. That led to some entertaining moments. I'm sure you saw it on Twitter that Giannis, during the reserves round of the draft, he tried drafting John Morant, who was a starter. That led to some laughs. You had Nikola Jokic, who was the second to last player drafted, which is crazy to think of. The two-time MVP, walking triple-double, was the second to last guy drafted in the All-Star draft. He didn't even give LeBron a chance to pass him up. He kind of walked down to him and put himself on his own team. So that was kind of cool. The other thing too that I found kind of funny, I don't know if you saw this, but leading up to it, the reason why they drafted the reserves first is the NBA wanted to get away from the last pick label of basically, I think it came down to not hurting guys' feelings that you were the last pick in the All-Star draft, which I don't know why we're even caring about that to begin with. But the funny thing I found about that is when LeBron drafted Jaren Jackson Jr. as his last pick in the first round, he labeled him as, this is my last pick of this round. And then Giannis did the same exact thing for Lauri Markkanen at the end of the starters round. So I don't know what the NBA was going for there. Like I said, to be like, oh, we need to not label these guys as the last pick in the NBA draft. Because like I said, we might have some feelings hurt.
See,
didn't work out.
Someone is always going to be the last pick.
You have
to draft 2 players. The second player is the last pick.
Oh, that's how it's going to go in the All-Star draft anyway. I said it to my dad the other day. I'm like, if somebody's feelings is really getting hurt, like give the guy a car. Isn't that what the NHL drafted? Like anytime the last guy was drafted, just give the guy like a Hummer or something, or like a convertible.
No,
if he feels that bad.
They get like a Ford Focus. That's
it's something. But I mean, they give cars to the MVPs of the event. Tatum, I think, got a car and he was going to give it to Jaylen Brown. I thought I saw on Twitter. So just do the same thing if anybody's feelings are that hurt that they were the last pick in the draft. Because again, it doesn't really matter. It's the All-Star draft. I saw a great comment where someone was like, "Oh, sorry, we're making the 24th best player in the NBA, feel bad about being the last pick in an All-Star draft because it really matters." So that was, like I said, kind of funny to see. As a whole, though, like I said, I think the NBA should stick with the pregame draft. I thought that was cool. They need to figure out their audio though, because just watching it live, they heard Ernie Johnson try to do the draft, and for some reason they never cut, or at least for the first couple picks, never cut Chuck, Kenny, or Shaq's mic, so you could just hear them talking in the background. So that was a little annoying. But other than that, thought it was a good event. Like I said, you got to see Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown dominate. Just from Celtics ties. Tatum, of course, broke Anthony Davis's all-time point record, or point record. He won the All-Star Game MVP. Like I said, the first quarter, anything LeBron did, if he threw a ball off the backboard and dunked it to himself, Tatum did the exact same thing, trying to one-up him. So that was pretty cool, too. And then I saw it on Twitter, too. I think the last couple of NBA title winners, Giannis 2 years ago, Steph Curry last year, won All-Star MVP, and then their team went on to win the MVP or the NBA Finals. So maybe that's something to keep an eye on. Tatum wins MVP. He's got one down, 2 more to go with obviously MVP of the league, as you predicted in the preseason, and then maybe a Finals MVP as well to put under his belt as well. So
they have it. Might just happen.
Who knows?
It's a decent omen.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was awesome to see them combine for 90 points. I mean, I didn't watch the game, but looking at the stats, looks like there was some, funny moments back and forth between each other two being on different teams. So
yep,
at least there was that and something that was cool, I guess. from All-Star Weekend.
Yeah, like I said, maybe
all sports,
it's
it pretty much sucks besides baseball.
pretty much, yeah. Yep.
But
I mean, I don't know. I feel like, to me, like, I don't know how you can really change the NBA. I know the NHL, they changed theirs for the better. I think everyone agrees the 3-on-3. That structure is much better. The NFL obviously is trying to change the Pro Bowl game a little bit.
The NFL should just have nothing. I'm sorry. Like, I just don't think it works for football.
Yeah, there's some people, I think that my dad's the same way. He said the same thing, like, just abolish the All-Star game. He said it across all sports because he didn't really see the need for any of the games don't mean anything anymore. But like this one, I don't really care that there's no defense being played. It's a bunch of superstar NBA players that are going out and playing a pickup game. Like, I feel like that's how it's supposed to be. There's really no way you can change how the game is structured. Like, you're not going to make guys play defense in the All-Star game. I know Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in his post game talking about it, he was a little upset that LeBron, the one dunk he went up for, LeBron, I think, blocked him on it. So there was a little bit of defense played there, but you have moments like you said too. Tatum and Brown going one-on-one at the end of the first half, and Brown hits a 3 over him. Tatum trying to play defense. He gave him the too small taunt. Tatum hit a 3 over Brown trying to play defense on him and gave him the kiss of death taunt for the 3. So you have moments where, guys, if their teammates going up against each other, cool moments like that. But again, I saw a decent amount of people that were like, oh, this All-Star game stinks. Like, we need to get rid of it. Like, I don't know if you can really change the NBA All-Star game up that much. The skills competition and stuff like that, I think you can definitely tweak a little bit to try to make better and more enjoyable to watch. But the All-Star game as a whole, like, it is what it is. Like, guys are going to go out there, just kind of goof around, which I'm fine with. I don't really care that much.
Yeah, guys aren't trying to get hurt either. Like,
exactly, yeah.
With All-Star games, but
yeah, like I said, Giannis, he was dealing with a wrist injury, came out, had a dunk on his first 20 seconds of possessing the ball, and then took himself out and never played again. LeBron hurt himself going up for a block. He jammed his hand in the rim. He took himself out and never played again. So like these guys know that they're not going out there and trying to do anything too crazy. They're just going out there obviously to have fun and enjoy the moment and stuff like that. So I'm not going to get too, I know obviously we spent a lot of time talking about it, but I'm not going to get too worked up about, what needs to be changed in the All-Star game, or if it's even worth, tuning into.
Yeah. I'm on the same track as you. So,
okay.
That's really about it. I don't really have much else to add. That is going to wrap it up for episode 131 of the Salvaggio and Cratty Sports Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. You can find us on Twitter. You can follow me at Mike_Cratty. You can follow Ryan at Ryan_Salvaggio, and you can follow the show at Selling Cratty Pod. I posted a TikTok for the first time in forever, so go check that out on the page. Just throw our name into the search bar. You can find us wherever you find your podcast. So, explore the options you need to if you're new or old. And we'll talk to you next week. Depending on, I might have something for work, but hopefully not. But if that's the case, we'll try to reschedule sometime that week. But we'll keep you posted on Twitter, so follow along there. And stay safe, stay healthy, be nice to people, all that good stuff. And we'll talk to you next week. Peace out.